Hey there, this is JP Stiles, filmmaker and director. Today I'm sitting down with Swami Chidananda, a Vedic monk in the Satanya Dharma tradition, often translated as the path toward eternal truth. We're going to talk about love, Dharma, and the nature of the universe and enlightened beings. Enjoy, and as you listen, take what resonates and leave the rest.
Maybe we can start with a mantra.
I would love that.
Om Ajnanantimirandasya Jnanajanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
What was that mantra?
This mantra is calling to the teachers to open the eyes of ignorance so we can perceive the true reality, which is only love.
There's two questions that I've been thinking about. And the first one I'll start with relates to what you just said, which is your talk the other night. You said, if you only follow your desires, you will end in anger. Mm-hmm. Or if you follow the path of desire, it will end in anger.
Yeah.
And so I understand that from a place of, well, if you're only chasing material goods, mm-hmm. everything comes to an end, so yes. You will be left unfulfilled. But then the question is, what is the path to follow then?
So I would say we follow the path of love. And what's the difference between the path of love and the path of material gratification? It's just intention. You're not actually changing anything really externally. Right? You're still eating pizza. You're still striving to be successful. You're still trying to do all of the things in the world, your dharma that you were doing before. But now you do it from a space of, rather than this will make me happy, this will allow me to experience unconditional love, and this will allow me to share unconditional love. And so you shift from the path of material desire to a path of spiritual longing. And that spiritual longing is, how can I share more love? How can I experience more love? Not love that is impermanent, but love which is eternal. Because why do we say that this path of material desire leads to anger? Because every material object is impermanent. Right? Everything in this world turns to dust. But what the soul, also referred to the Atma, is searching for is something eternal. Right? The bliss or the joy that it's searching for is eternal. So that's the only thing. If something of this world can give you eternal happiness, I'd be the first person to say, go for it. No problem. Because that's what we're searching for. It's called Ananda. But what we see of this world is that it is impermanent, it's ever-changing. So you can't ever hold on to it. And if you're able to somehow grab it, two things will happen. One is that it will leave your hands, or the other is that you'll hold it so tightly that you'll squeeze everything out of it and you won't find the same joy in it. Then you'll be repulsed by it. Right? This is what we see a lot of times in our life, is that we get so excited to have something. But then after we get it, we play with it like a little child for a few weeks, a few years. And then after a while, we're just like, I can't even stand to look at it. This is like a relationship where I'm just like, I can't even stand to look at you. But 2 years ago, I would profess to you that I will eternally love you. Eternally, we should be together. Life after life, we should be together. And now you're like, I can't even stand 5 minutes with you, let alone another life. Right? Because it's ever changing. So that's the only difference. One is eternal, one is impermanent. And what we are really searching for is that eternal happiness.
But with your example right there of a relationship, you may get bored of a relationship, but then people still stick with it. That's the whole commitment aspect to it. Is that because they are using the undercurrent of love with their intention, or how would you explain that?
Well, it depends on two things, right? I would say a very productive and beautiful relationship, they might go through ups and downs, But the undercurrent is always we're together to help each other to grow more in love. Right? And so when you're in that space, then yeah, there'll be moments where you might have a little bit of whatever it might be, but you actually are growing more and more in love with even each other. Right? So there's different stages of a relationship. Like we say that in the first stage of the relationship, which usually lasts about 7 years, that's when we are enamored with each other. Right? We're like, everything about you is amazing. Right? And you're willing to overlook all of our flaws and all of these things, and everything's great. Right? But in those 7 years, after some time, you might just get sick of the person. You might just say, I can't do this anymore. But if you make it past the 7 years, a new phase sets in. In that phase, you're like, look, I have my issues, you have your issues. It's not anymore about this like perfect reality. But I still want to support you. I still trust in you. I still want to share that life with you. And the other person's like, yeah, I want that also. And then that can go on for another 7, 10, 12 years. And then once you do that, then you enter the next stage, where now you actually grow more and more in love with each other. Not the physical self, not the physical body, but that which is within you, that divinity within you. You start to recognize it. And every day you grow more and more. And in the last stage, what happens is that we'll reach a state where others want to be around you. They're like, wow, they have something special here. I want to be around them. I want to be in that energy. Because most of the times in relationships, like you're around certain people and you want to run away from them, right? Because just their energy is so intense. They're always fighting. They're always going against each other. I'm like, I got to get away. But then there's some old people where you're like, I love being around them, right? Because of all of these stages that they've gone through. And so that's what I would say is that when the intention is correct, then there's a new reality and perspective that comes in the relationship. But if the intention is not there, then it's always going to be, what will you do for me? How will you make me happy? And then that's always going to lead to some type of downfall.
And the intention being one of internal growth or becoming closer to God within yourself via a partnership?
Yeah. So the intention is always to grow more in unconditional love. How you want to frame unconditional love, that's based on your path. So you can call it God, that it can have a form, it can be formless, right? There's many ways to approach unconditional love. Whatever that might be, if the intention is always to grow in love, and you recognize that we can support each other on that, then that's a beautiful relationship. Because it's not for everybody to become a monk or a nun, then the world would stop to exist. So people need to be in relationships and have children and live that life. There's also beauty in that. And so if we recognize, yes, let's come together, let's share a life, let's support each other towards experiencing that love within ourselves, then that can be really, really meaningful.
That's the goal.
It's rare though. It's very, very rare to come across that.
Yeah.
I've not seen it so often, but it is possible.
Meaning, so you just see relationships and you're like, they're not really it. They don't really look fulfilling, or they're just like
no, I don't go around.
I
would say like I would not go around judging people, but like you can tell a lot of the times the relationships are not based on the right intentions. And so when they're not based on the right intentions, we're always set ourselves up for eventual downfall. And that downfall is actually good because it gets us to a point where we either decide, let's move forward and change our perspective on how we connect with each other, or let's end it. So there's also benefits in that. Right? Then you're not going to waste a bunch of time. It's like you do it or you don't do it. Now, but unfortunately, sometimes I also see people in fear, right? You stay together with somebody because of fear. You're like, if we break up, then, what type of consequences will there be? And so we stay, but we're miserable. And so we have to find that balance where we have to evaluate and say, okay, let us stay and let's try and make it work, because both of us are willing to change, I'll give it a shot, then it's fine. But if I'm like, I'm going to stay, but you're never willing to change, then that's also limiting, no? Then it's based on fears on our own insecurities. So that balance, that's important. Being attuned to the right decision.
Right. I've heard that in ways it doesn't even matter what relationship you're in, your karma will still follow you. Like the challenges that you need to work on will still pop up. Yeah.
So, we are born to work through certain karma. So karma just means entanglement, right? We've acted from a space of ego and we've created some type of entanglement with this reality. So we're forced back into situations that allow us to unentangle. And when we unentangle, we move closer to realizing who we are. But the more we entangle, the further we go away from it. So what life does is it's always pushing you towards moments and experiences that allow you to unentangle something. And so if you have some entanglement with somebody else, then life's going to try and bring you together so you can have that experience and you can try and unentangle. And if you do that, it's going to support you and that person. Right? Then that knot is free, not only for you, but for the person on the other end. And then you keep growing. But what happens is when life brings us together to unentangle, we entangle more. Right? And that's why we get stuck in the cycle of birth and death. Because we don't take these opportunities to unentangle. We take these opportunities to tangle ourselves more. So spirituality is a form of grace that allows us to see that opportunity to unentangle and to do the work to actually clear that karma between us and somebody else or something else. Right? That's what the practices do. Many people think, if I take up a spiritual practice, my life will be perfect. But actually, it's the opposite. When I take up a spiritual practice, our karmas speed up. So these things that we need to unentangle are presented to us in a much greater frequency. But those practices will also help us to see it clearly and work through it quickly. Right? So without the practice, it might be many lifetimes before you actually have to go through something. But with the practice, it brings it very fast. And if you utilize the practice, then you can work through it and then you're clear from it. Right? So it's up to us. Do we want to take the path of suffering or do we want to take the path of grace?
So this leads me to kind of the big question. And one of the reasons I want to sit down with more people, especially like yourself, is to ponder some of life's largest questions, which is, why are we here? Essentially.
Yeah, why are we here? That's a big question. Right? So I think to understand that question, why are we here, we have to first define a few things. We have to define, who are we? What is this reality? And what is it that connects all of us? So if we have this understanding of these three things, what is it that connects all of us? Who are we? And what is this reality? Then we'll start to have a better answer to that question. So let's focus firstly on what is it that connects all of us. So every tradition has its understanding of that. Some will call it God. Some will call it energy. Some will call it consciousness. Right? But there is something that is a thread connecting us. Okay? So for the purposes of this talk, because we keep talking about the word love, let's use the word love. And let's use the words unconditional love. What does that mean? So in the Vedic tradition, it said that unconditional love has three qualities. The first quality of unconditional love is that it is the highest truth. Truth with a capital T. Right? Because as humans, we're always searching for something. We're always being propelled to act, to try and understand something deep within ourselves. Right? Every human being, there's a drive to know, who are we? Right? What is happening? And so all of our actions are moving us towards that. So this unconditional love is Sat, or truth. Truth with a capital T. When you experience it, that is the truth. There's nothing higher than that. You've come to the conclusion of your searching. The next is Chit. Chit means consciousness. So, for example, how was this universe created?
Are you asking me?
Mm-hmm. How was it created? By science. What does science say?
The Big Bang.
Big Bang, right?
Yeah.
So everything came from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
So laws of physics, matter, everything all came from nothing. So what do you think is required for everything to come from nothing?
Something.
What do you think? What do you think that something is? What is needed for something to happen? For you to even do something in this world, what do you need?
Motivation, intention, energy.
Yes. So we're going to call it will.
Okay.
In Sanskrit, it's called sankalpa. A willingness to do something. You need will. Right? So there was a will that decided that everything was going to come from nothing. Right? So will is said to be the characteristics of consciousness. That's how we know something is conscious, because it possesses will. A will to do something, a will to create. So will causes a chain of cause and effect. Right? I will something, that something then has an effect, that effect has a cause of, then it has an effect, and so forth and so on. So there's a cause and effect chain. Right? So the first principle, the first will that created, that first consciousness, is said to be Chit. Right? And that is an attribute or quality of love. So the first is the ultimate truth, Sat. The second is consciousness, or Chit. Okay? That's actually how we define in the Vedic tradition as something being sentient and non-sentient. Does it possess will? So for example, this glass, it doesn't have a will. It cannot have a relationship with anything. It cannot act on its own. So therefore, it's non-sentient. But humans, we have a will. Animals, we have a will. Plants, there is a will. There's a growing, there's an interaction with the environment. So therefore, all of these beings are sentient. Right? Now, the last is called bliss, or ananda. It's the highest joy that we can experience in this life. So when we eat cheesecake or pizza, we experience some joy. But what is the issue with cheesecake happiness?
Short-lived, get a stomachache after.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
Sure.
It's impermanent, right? So ananda, or bliss, is eternal. So that which possesses eternal bliss is unconditional love. So unconditional love is Sat, Chit, Ananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss. Right? So that is God. That is the divine. That is that supreme energy. That is what connects all of us. Okay? Every religion, every tradition, every practice has a different way of describing this Sat, Chit, Ananda. Some say it has forms, some it says forms. This is a longer conversation. So it is said that we all come from that. Right? We're all like cells in a body. There's one body, but many, many cells. Yeah? And so each one of us is a cell in that body. And each one of us also possesses the DNA of the entire body. Right? You just take one cell from a body and you can recreate you. So can the cells say, I am the entire body? Can it say that?
No.
What can it say?
I'm a piece of the body.
The body is the ultimate reality.
Mm-hmm.
I am a part of that body, and I possess all of the qualities of that body. So that's a very small distinction, but very, very important one. Right? Because why? Why do you think that's important to make that distinction? That the cell says that I'm not the entire body, but I'm a part of the body. I have all of the qualities of the body. Why do you think that is an important distinction we're making?
Well, I think because we're about to get to the idea of us being a part of creation, but not being creation itself.
And let's go even deeper. What else do you see from that? Let's even use a finger.
Sure.
Like a finger can't say I'm the entire body, but it can say I am part of the body. I possess all of the qualities of the body. Right? So why is that an important distinction? That there is a unique difference between a part and the whole.
Because it can't do everything on its own.
It can, sure. What else? It's like a quiz.
I know. I'm like, well, does it have to do with ego?
No,
or we're
the ego's not involved right now.
Okay.
Relation. It allows for relationship. There has to be a relational aspect to it, right? Without that unique identity, there is no relationship. And that's an important thing to establish. That there is a relationship between the part and the whole. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now that we've established that, we are a part of the whole. And we possess all of the qualities of the whole, but we cannot say we are the entirety. Okay? For example, does the fish in an ocean possess the quality of wetness?
Yes.
Yeah. You can't. Can you remove that from the fish?
Mm-mm.
No. The same with us. We possess Satchit Ananda. That's inherent part of us. That can't ever be removed. Okay. So then it goes to this reality. This reality is a place where the whole can have a relationship with the part. We come in here and we interact and we have this relationship. So this place is a field. It's a stage for that relationship to happen. And what we can say is that look at this world like a painting. There's an original painting, and over hundreds and hundreds of years, other artists have come and painted over it. Okay? So when we're in this world, what we see are all of the new paintings. But the original painting is still there. It never disappeared. That's how this world is. This underlying element of this world is Satchit Ananda. It's truth, consciousness, and bliss. And now we built all of these realities on top of it. And because we're identifying with those realities, we suffer. But if we interact with those realities, understanding that the original painting is love, then every interaction becomes an opportunity to experience love. But because we forget, we suffer. But if we know the truth, the underlying truth, every opportunity is an opportunity to be like, wow, I could have this relationship. This is a new way to experience Satchit Ananda. We say, if God came to you and he says, you can choose any person, anywhere, at any moment to live any way, after billions of iterations, you would come back and say, I want to be JP doing this in this moment, and I don't want to do anything else. You'll always come back to wanting to be who you are in the present moment, because you realize that's the place to experience love in the fullest.
That's cool.
Right? It's just a shift in perception.
Right.
So that's all it is. It's just a shift in perception. So we have forgotten. This is called Maya, illusionary energy. It's covered us.
So the idea of us wanting to be someone else, be that celebrity, have that person with wealth,
it's just a misunderstanding. It's just a misunderstanding of why you were here in the first place. It's to experience love through the specific form and dharma or duty you've been given. It's unique to you. It's special to you. When we forget that and we chase after other things. Like, no, this can't be it. I should be doing something else. I should be somewhere else. But that's the ego. And the ego awakens when we're in ignorance. We forget who we are. So the idea of spirituality is when we go back to becoming enlightened, what do you think happens when we become enlightened?
You have a direct line to love and the idea of unconditional love and relating in love as the main purpose of being on earth.
And what is your dharma when you become enlightened?
To live in love and help others get there, I assume.
And like from an external perspective, like what would you do externally? Like what would be your day-to-day thing?
Probably teaching, meditating and teaching.
So that's where I would change it.
Okay.
I would say if you become enlightened, you will still continue to do this, what you're doing now. You're not going to start teaching. The teaching will be you doing what you've been doing now with unconditional love. People will see that and they'll be inspired by that. That's how you will teach. Your external dharma will not change for the most part. Maybe it evolves, who knows? But it's not going to be like, I'm enlightened, now I'm going to teach. There was a great being who was an accountant. He became enlightened. He woke up in the morning and went back to accounting. And accounting became a way to inspire and share this love. People would come, they were like, why are you enjoying accounting so much? And then he would say, oh, because of this and that. Right? So that's an important thing. Your dharma does not change. You'll flow with it. Maybe other opportunities will come, who knows? But it's not going to intrinsically be different. And that's why I always share with people, when you go on the spiritual path, keep doing your external dharma.
Right.
Don't come and live with me in an ashram. Don't give up everything. Right? Keep doing it and utilize your practices to do it from a space of complete oneness. Right?
I want to take a tangent for a second from our main question to talk about this, which is if I'm a young kid trying to figure out my life, or anyone at any age trying to decipher, okay, I feel passionate about this, but maybe I do become a monk, or I'm trying to decide what to do with my life, but you're saying it doesn't matter, continue your path, but do it with love. I feel like people might get very confused about what they should do. So how do you know what your physical dharma is? And then to do that in love, right?
So I would say, what's your dharma right now? Like literally this second.
Well, it's a great question because I don't want my ego to get involved, right?
No, but like literally, I'm talking about right this second.
Literally sharing stories that help people see the beauty in the world and of humanity.
Great. I would even go even further to be like, this second, your dharma is just to interview me. Like, that's it. Like, boom. To be here right now, interview me.
Right.
All the other things is true, but right now, that's what you're doing.
Yes.
So you can do it from a space of anxiety, fear, uncertainty, or you can do it from a space of unconditional love, right? And if you do it from love, what will happen? There'll be a beautiful experience. And then maybe after you leave this, some other door opens and there's a feeling like, let me take that. Let me go down that door. But if you do it with a bunch of anxiety and uncertainty, then that door might open and you might miss it. Or you might take another door, go through a bunch of suffering, and then get back to where you need to be. And that's actually where most humans go. We don't actually miss anything. Whatever we're meant to do, we will do. You can either take a straight line from me to you, or you can go like that. But you're going to get there. So I would say with the younger kids or whoever, just focus on the present moment. Just do what you've been given. Don't overthink it. Do it in the way that Krishna speaks about in the Bhagavad Gita, the way that we're speaking. Once you do it, go home, do your meditation, and then in the morning, go back to do your dharma. And as you start to do that, you will have more discernment as to which next door to take. Because the doors will open. You just need discernment. Should I go left or should I go right? So when we're in fear, our discernment is not there. Then we end up taking a door that takes us a little bit further away, and then we come back. Right? There's only two ways to grow: grace or suffering. Even grace and even suffering can be good. I took many wrong doors in my life. I was an investment banker working in Wall Street, right? So I took that door. It was completely away from my actual dharma. But there was also a beautiful learning opportunity from that. So in that way, don't over-intellectualize and think, what should I be doing? Just focus on what you've been given now and do that in the best way possible. Then discernment will arise as to which door to walk through next.
It was a bite-sized Dharma.
Bite
Instead of
I
taking
like
a huge
that.
thing,
That's
just
nice.
little
Bite-sized
bite-sized Dharma. Each moment, what is my Dharma here, 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 instead of
Yes.
the whole big picture. What am I meant to do with my 80, 100 years on
yes.
Earth? Yeah.
I might start using that. I like that. Bite-sized Dharma.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
That helps
put.
me think about it. Okay, but even using your personal story and example, you could have done investment banking with love.
I could have, yes.
So why go the monk route?
Because that was my inherent dharma that I was born to do in this world. So I've seen people that went investment banking, took up a spiritual path, and my guru said, continue to do that and share love through that. But for me, he told me when I first met him, you were born to be a Swami. And so that's your dharma. You can't run away from that. And so I also knew it as well. As soon as I met him and as soon as I connected, I knew that was my path.
Well, that was my next question. Did someone need to tell you your path, or you truly knew it yourself?
It was a combination of both. My guru reminded me, and then over time, that reminder solidified into a knowing. But sometimes we could use some external help. Like sometimes a teacher, a book, a movie, a person, somebody can help you and can take you sort of like on the right path. Sometimes we need that external energy to come and shift something in us. And so I tell people, it was unique to me. But if I were you and you were an investment banker and you came to me, I said, take the practices, learn the Kriya, do the mantra, and go back into it and try your best to share love through that.
And then if blockages kept coming up and something felt wrong, then maybe that's an internal knowing.
Then there'll be like a discernment, like a clarity, like, okay, maybe now it's time for me to take another path. And then you take it. Then you can quit, right? I always tell people, like people will come and say, Swami, I want to quit my job. And so my guru would always tell me this, and I would share it with others. I said, okay, do you love what you do? And they're like, no, of course not. That's why I want to quit it. It's like, okay, I'll make a deal with you. The moment you love what you do, then quit. Right? It's paradoxical, but if you think about it, the moment you're like, okay, I love where I'm at because these are the things I need to learn from it. These are the things I need to let go. These are the things that life is showing me in this moment. When you are there and fully embracing it, then it's like, okay, now I'm done. I've learned my experiences. I'll take the next round.
Meaning love the current job that you thought you hated. When you get to that point of loving it.
Not to love even the job. Love the idea that you are where you need to be. It's not like now I'm like, oh, I have to love accounting. It's okay, I'm where I need to be to have the experiences that I need to. The moment that feels right for you, then okay, now I can quit. And then when you quit from that perspective and you take up another opportunity to do your dharma, then you don't have to work on the same lessons that you would have run away from. Now there's other experiences and other opportunities to grow in love. Right? But if you quit without fully embracing and loving the moment, then that will follow you. What you needed to learn in that moment, the things you needed to untangle, will follow you to the next one and the next one and the next one. And in your next job, you'll be happy for a year, and the same things that you ran away from will come right back into you. And then you're forced to look at it and you're forced to overcome it.
Because you are resisting the current experience.
But if you were fully accepting and then you move from there, then you have an opportunity to have other opportunities to love. So I'm not saying you have to be an accountant your whole life. I'm not saying you should never quit. First, try your best to practice really loving the moment. And then move forward from there. Then there'll be a complete different understanding of life, a different way of looking at it.
Right. Cool. I'm laughing at all the accountants that are going to be like, why is accounting always used? I love my job, but if they're in love, they will.
Then they're like, that's great.
Exactly. More power to us. Okay, so going back on track of the big question, why are we here? It seemed like where we were getting at is to simply have relation.
Yes. So I would say, so we spoke about the 3 attributes of unconditional love, which is Sat Chit Ananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss. Now let's focus on Ananda, bliss. So bliss, we would define, would you say bliss is confined to a set of boundaries and limitations?
No.
It's ever expanding and growing. Right? So for bliss to love to expand and grow, it needs to be relational. That's how bliss can grow and expand, through relation. That's how we grow in love, even as humans, right? We interact with each other, and that interaction then builds a bigger and bigger and bigger experience of love. It doesn't become stagnant. Right? That's because of the experience. That's because of the relation. So this place just becomes an opportunity for Ananda to expand through relation. And it's expanding if you like it, if you don't like it, if you're aware of it or you're not aware of it. Right? Look at life like a theater play. You can either be in the play knowing that you're an actor, and at the end of the day, you're finished and you can go fully into it, or you can be in the play and completely forget that you're an actor. Either way, the play is going. Either way, the audience is enjoying it. Right? If you enjoy it or not, the audience is still watching and enjoying it. That's how we would look at this reality. You can either be dragged or you can join the fun. It's up to you. Either way, love is expanding. Either way, interaction is going on. And the example that I would give you is, let's go back to the finger, right? What is the Dharma of the finger? I'm talking not just about love, but like in terms of its actual Dharma.
To help bring the senses of touch into the body.
That's it, right? So imagine, and if it does it properly, and if it fully embraces it, do you think the finger will experience joy and bliss in that, in living out its Dharma? Would you say?
Yeah.
Theoretically,
Yes.
right? By being a part of the whole, interacting, embracing it, it's going to experience it.
Right.
Now imagine if the finger says, today, I don't want to do that. I want to be a yoga teacher in Bali. Okay? Can the finger do that?
It could try.
But can it actually jump out of my hand and go do that?
No.
Right? So it cannot do that, but it wants to do that. So what is that creating?
Suffering.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's humans. We want to experience unconditional love in something of this world, but we can never do it. It's like the finger trying to jump and do something else. And that inner conflict is creating suffering. But when we can just embrace that this reality is a place for us to experience this relationship, to embrace our Dharma, then everything flows. So we have that choice. If we like it or not, we're going to be moving forward. Right? Just like the finger, if he likes it or not, he's going to continue to do what he needs to. So what does the finger need to do? 2 words. What does the finger need to do?
It's Dharma.
It's Dharma by doing what?
Bringing touch.
Yes. And letting go.
Okay.
It has to let go of its delusions. The moment it's able to let go of its delusion and embrace its Dharma, then everything will flow. Spirituality, the Bhagavad Gita, the entire 700 verses of the Gita can be summarized in 2 words, let go. That's all that Krishna was trying to get Arjuna to do. Let go of his preconceived notions of what is right, what is wrong, what should bring joy, what shouldn't bring joy, the ideas of morality. All of these are just limitations.
So we come to this earth to realize...
Not even earth, I would say this reality.
This
universe.
To remember to let go, essentially. But then...
No, not to remember. To play the game.
Right.
What is the favorite game of Chidananda. What is the favorite game of unconditional love?
Hide and seek with the divine.
That hide and go seek. Right? It's like that divine essence is like, I'm going to go and hide myself in this reality. You come and play the game. And then at some point, you'll realize that everything is only me. And then the game is finished. So you come to play a game of hide and go seek. You come to play a game that allows you to experience more and more and more love. And sometimes to have that experience, we might have to have some longing, some separation, and then eventually unity. To play hide and go seek, the conditions are sometimes you have to forget where and what you are looking for. And then that creates the game. That's the catalyst for the game. Right? So look at it from that perspective. Many people look at spirituality like a test. I failed, I passed. Right? But there's nothing to fail, nothing to pass. Every opportunity is an experience to grow in love or to see the things that you need to let go of. Right? There's no passing or failing. We're all moving back towards the ocean of love. We're all moving back towards our divine nature. This is just a moment in time to have a certain relational experience, right? Which involves some forgetting, some misidentification, and then some, once again, understanding of our true nature.
And if we come from a place of unconditional love and where space and time does not exist, why even come here to play hide and seek? Why not just stay in everlasting bliss if that's where we came from?
Well, so bliss is always growing, right? So for bliss to grow, we said we need relation. There needs to be relationship. So then the question you would ask is, why don't we just have a relationship with the divine without having to forget who we are and come into this reality?
Exactly.
Like, that's the question, right?
Yes.
So then the answer for me would be, is this relationship eternal? Is it an eternal relationship?
From my understanding so far in life, yes.
It's an eternal relationship between you and the divine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So look at it from the perspective of eternity. Okay? In the perspective, that's because that's important. In the perspective of eternity, what if it's like, hey, let's try another experience of love? And in this experience, let's create the conditions for separation. Because when there's separation from the one that you love, what arises?
Longing.
And when that longing is fulfilled, what do you experience?
More love.
That's it. So we're just creating the conditions to, in an eternal relationship, to experience love in a different way. It's like, imagine if the person you loved, you were with them throughout COVID. Okay? You had to spend every single day with them. At some point, you're like, hey, I love you, but can you just like give me 10 minutes? Like just go and do something. Just leave me alone for a little bit. But does that mean that your love has diminished for them? You're just like, I just need another experience. I just need a little bit of separation. So when we come back together, it's even more beautiful. Look at it from that perspective.
I can see the framework. I guess my brain just gets stopped at, well, why would, ever expanding bliss have preference or desire to even try this different way of expanding love?
Why would it not?
I guess that's the other way to think about it.
Because
it's just any possibility is happening. Why not?
Every possibility is there in love. Love is not void of anything, right? So in that sense, why would it not have that desire? Or not desire, but why would it not have that longing to experience in another iteration, another way, in another context? It's an eternal relationship. Why not?
Right. And then it makes me think of, multi-dimension theory or whatever. There could be
multiple universes.
I could be a different being.
Sure, we would say in the Vedic tradition, a soul is tied to a particular body and mind. But there could be another soul in another universe that is acting and behaving just like you, having a whole nother experience. But every soul is unique and different. And there's an eternal amount of souls, just like there's an eternal amount of fish in an ocean per se. And each soul is like a cell in a body interacting with the whole. And that could happen in our dimension, in another dimension, in another universe, who knows? So we as human beings, our brains are limited, so we can only perceive things in a certain way. But what we're talking about is something beyond our mind. So why can't there be unlimited universes? Why can't there be separation? Why can't there be all of these things? Right? Who are we to constrain or define how God should be or how God should act?
Right. Okay, so then I guess recapping it, we are here simply to play hide and seek with the divine.
And to experience and grow more and more in love. Cool. Eternally.
That's a pretty good reason.
Yeah. Love, there's no end to love. There's no limitation, there's no confinement. When you become enlightened, right, does that mean that you fully understand and comprehend love?
Probably not, because of the human brain.
Well, no.
And its capacity.
Let's just say when you become enlightened, right? Enlightenment means that you've connected to your eternal self. You've transcended the limitations of the mind. At that point, have you understood love?
I would say you feel it.
That's it. We can't ever understand or know love because by nature, love is constantly expanding more and more and more. So an enlightened being is somebody that fully feels that love in every moment. Right? But an enlightened being does not mean that they've understood love. There's no conclusion. It's just their feeling and expression of love is unobstructed by any type of illusionary ignorance. Yeah? So in that sense, you asked the question, is Ram Dass a saint? I would say in that spectrum, Ram Dass is somebody at the end of his life that was fully experiencing love and doing his Dharma and sharing the teachings of his Guru. So I would qualify him as a saint. Right?
This is shifting gears, but before we get to an end, I'm curious, the topic of death and people becoming okay with that and how to prepare for that. What do you teach or think about that process?
I would say, I think Freud had this idea that people have an inherent fear of death because it confronts them with their immortality. So what they do is they carry out immortality projects where they try to have children, they try to create things in hopes that their name will live on after their death. And so if we spend our whole life identifying with this physical body, chasing after material desires, then the ego will generate a bunch of fear of the death of itself, right? Because the ego is going to die when you die. It's finished. So it doesn't want to die. Right? This personality of JP is going to be done once the soul decides it's time to leave the body. And so if your whole life you've been cultivating the identification of the ego is going to try to fight tooth and nail to the end and generate a bunch of fear saying, no, I don't want to die. So for most of us, when in the time of our death, we experience huge amounts of fear because we've identified so much with the personality. But when a saint is about to die, they understand that this body and mind was a vehicle for the soul to share love. And now it's time for the soul to decide to take another body and mind, or to not come back. Right? And either way, they're perfectly at peace with it. And so when you are a saint, you don't feel fear. But if there's any identification with the ego, you're going to feel fear. Because at that moment, the ego is going to die. And as far as you're concerned, that means you're going to die. But if you're identified with the soul, which is eternal, then you're like, oh, okay. This particular game is coming to an end. I'm looking forward to what the next game is. So that would be the difference. So if you want to prepare for death, you have to constantly spend life experiencing and feeling who you truly are, which is the soul.
And so you mentioned ego and personality dies, but is there an essence of me or my soul that is unique?
Yes. Yes. So what happens is that when you become enlightened, look at it like a steel rod. Okay? So you take a steel rod and you put it into the fire. So when you put the steel rod into the fire, what happens to the steel rod?
Melts.
No, I would not say it melts. If it's a really strong steel rod, what happens to it?
Heats up.
It heats up and it turns
Molten, red.
red, right? So it takes on all the qualities of the fire. It becomes red, it becomes hot, but it still retains individual identity. That's a saint. A saint is somebody whose mind is completely transformed into divinity. It's become red hot, right? But there's still an individual identity of the soul that remains. But that identity is completely immersed in Satchidananda. It has no identity of its own as I am this or that. It's completely immersed and identified with truth, consciousness, and bliss. And at the same time, there is some individuality for the sake of relationship.
So when it goes back to this bliss, it wouldn't know that its separateness exists.
It would know that it is a finger that is part of the body. And it would have that perfect acceptance of it. So it would still have some individuality, but that individuality has now become red hot. It's become completely identified with the oneness of truth, consciousness, and bliss. But the finger will always know that it is a finger. Right? It won't just be like, there'll always be a identity to it. But that identity will not anymore be like, I am individual, I am separate, but I'm a part of the whole. And now I've completely accepted my Dharma in that higher reality.
And what are we doing in the higher reality? Are we just hanging out in everlasting bliss, or we're probably coming back and forth in the ping pong of humanity?
Well, when you become enlightened, do you think you need to come back into this world?
Probably not.
No. So then why would you do it?
To teach others if I wanted to help them out.
Yeah, to teach others. But you're not anymore bound by illusionary energy. You're free, but you come and you take the role of a teacher and have a relationship, and that's your way of interacting with the divine. So when you become enlightened, you can come and do that if you want. Or you, like you said, or you can just hang out beyond time and space, just swimming in the ocean of love. Right.
So you think or believe or have felt that is essentially, you have a decision. Your soul will eventually come to a point where you'll have a decision if you become enlightened. Is that the idea? Or
so when you become free,
yeah,
your soul will either be like, I'll just swim in the ocean of love beyond time and space, or let me come down and try and help others and engage in some relationship here. It's eternal. So you can do many different things, right? But ultimately, what's happening there in a space of pure love without ignorance, we cannot understand with the mind. Like you're asking a question from one perspective, expecting an answer from a different perspective. You're expecting an answer from somebody who's enlightened and touched that state, but you're not there. So how can you understand that answer? You can only understand it from your perspective, which is a human. From that perspective, it's hard to intellectualize what's going on. All we can say is that you're swimming in the ocean of love. We can't say more than that.
right.
And we can't even think to understand more than that. It would be like a fool's errand.
Because we're not in the correct communication pattern.
Yeah, you're
it's
asking.
like speaking
yeah,
music.
you're like literally asking a question from one perspective, expecting an answer from another perspective.
Right.
That answer will only make sense if you shift who and where you're asking it from. An enlightened being will understand that answer. But as somebody who is limited, the question is futile because you're not where you need to be able to completely understand that question. It's like the idea of free will. Does free will exist, right?
Yeah.
Like people ask that, does free will exist?
Mm-hmm.
Depends on who's asking. If you're asking from the perspective of JP, who's a human and limited, it exists for you. Every decision you make will have a consequence. It'd be foolish to not think you don't have free will, right? But if you're asking and from a perspective of an enlightened being, then they would say, no, there is no free will. Everything is just the will of the divine. Right? It's like asking the universe and asking you. The universe is like, no, you have no free will. Like the stars are coming, things are moving. Do you have any control over that? The planet can be destroyed tomorrow. What free will do you have on that? So it's like JP is like, do we have free will? Expecting the universe to answer the question. But you don't have the capacity to comprehend the answer if it's given from something that is divine. So from your perspective, there is free will. But from an enlightened being's perspective, there is no free will. Both can coexist. Depends on who's asking the question.
Right. What are the steps if someone wants to become an enlightened being?
Let's rephrase. If somebody wants to experience and share more and more love.
Right.
If somebody wants to become that red hot steel rod, right? What are the steps? Well, the first is to let go of identification with this limited body and mind. And the way that you can do that is by immersing yourself in the energy of Satchidananda. I would say that everything has that energy, right? That's what we established. Everything has that energy. But if you take a magnifying glass and you put it under the rays of the sun and you look underneath it, what are you going to experience?
Heat.
The same rays, right?
Right.
But in a more intense way.
Yes.
And what will that cause?
A fire.
A fire, right? So I would say if you really want to experience unconditional love, figure out a way to be in that fire, because in the fire, purification happens. Everything is burned, and all that's left is truth, consciousness, and bliss. So the magnifying glass is your spiritual practice. It's when you chant the mantra. So by chanting a spiritual mantra, it helps you to feel the intensity of that heat where transformation can happen. The second is to be around saints, dead and living, because they carry an energy that is that intensity. When you're around them, you feel the heat and transformation happens. Okay. So I would say chant the mantra, be around saints, read teachings that you connect to, because they carry a certain energy that helps your mind to give some framework. Important to understand that the reading element, that's helping you to move towards the path. But we should not get caught up in that, because that's still the mind, right? Anything that's written, any type of scripture has the potential to be dogmatic. So that's the only thing I would say be careful about.
Right. And you bring up a really good point, which is when we first spoke, the idea of where did you learn all this? Obviously, you used frameworks and had teachers, but you were explaining that mantras are the way, when you chant those, you can feel these answers.
Yes, you feel the answers. Exactly.
Is that basically correct, or do you want to recap that? Yeah.
You feel the answers, and then also, when you do it, when you hear a scripture or a saint speaking, you'll be like, that's the truth. I feel that to be the truth, right? Because people will be like in other traditions, they might hear me speak, and they're like, but what you're saying is true. Like, I feel it at the core, like that is the truth. Right? Because the truth exists within you. Right? And the more and more you're attuned to yourself, the more and more you recognize that. So that's why sometimes you come across a scripture or a teacher or a teaching, you're like, yes, that's it. Because that's actually within you as well. And so the question that I would ask myself, or people should ask themselves, is, would I still practice this tradition if I did not grow up with it? Like, would I still do it if it was not something I grew up with from birth? If the answer is yes, then you're onto something. If you're like, no, then I would say, look at that. Because then that's more like social conditioning. That's fear. Those are those things.
Right. It's interesting because it's making me thinking of a family member who's Jehovah's Witness and became that later in her life.
Yeah.
but she would say like, this is the way, like I
Yeah.
was taught this and I want to share this with people. And then it becomes a larger question of just religions in general getting tricky because people feel like it's right.
Yeah.
But how do you decipher
So
maybe
I
it's
would-
right
yeah.
for them or like it is, you know?
So I would say as long as you're not harming anybody else, and if you feel that's your path, then go for it. And if it's not, that if it's just your mind playing games with you and tricks, then there'll be shifts, and you'll be moved towards the right path through suffering, right? So that's kind of where I would draw the line. If you're not causing harm to yourself or to others, follow what you feel is best for you, right? And see where that leads you. Maybe it leads you to the truth, or maybe it leads you to a dead end. And at least when you're at the dead end, you can take a U-turn.
So would you say there are many paths to the truth and many paths through via different religions to a truth?
Sure.
That could end with the same truth.
Of course. The Vedic tradition says, Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vedanti, which means the truth is one, but the wise speak of it in many ways. There's many, many rivers leading to the same ocean of love. But when there's many rivers, when you're at the ground, right? When you're on the ground and you see two rivers opposite of each other, and you see them not crossing for a long time, what are you going to think? Maybe they're both going to end somewhere different. Because that's your mind. That's what you know. But if I take you all the way up, now I see that they go like this, but at some point they intersect. So when you're down there, you're like, absolutely not. They're not going to intersect. Everything, my senses tell me it's not possible. When you go higher, you're like, oh, wait a second. What I thought to be an impossibility is actually not how I perceived it. Right? What I thought to be a paradox actually is not. They both lead to the same goal. And that's how traditions are. All traditions have some truth in them. If you practice them with sincerity, if you practice them with unconditional love, then they'll lead you to where you need to be. The way that I would look at it is a gold ring. Okay, I show you a gold ring. And the gold ring has a face of a lion on it. Okay? So it's a face of a lion, it's a gold ring. Okay? Now, can I take that gold, melt it, and make the face a tiger?
Yes.
So I could rebuild that ring, right?
Yeah.
But what is the essence of that ring?
Still gold.
Gold. Can I remove the gold and then make it into a lion or a tiger?
Mm-mm.
So gold is truth, consciousness, and bliss. Okay, that's the substance. Now, if you want to take it and make it into Jesus or to Krishna or to Rama, to change the ring formation to something else, no problem. The essence is still gold. It's still a gold ring, right? That's God. As long as you don't remove truth, consciousness, and bliss, make it into whatever you want and follow it. And you'll get to the end goal.
It's beautiful. It's just that we humans mess everything up because we want to be in different rivers.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's like, for me, as long as the gold is there, it can melt and take any shape that it wants. And every shape is another ideology, another tradition, another philosophy.
Right.
And each one has a substance. But if you remove the substance and then you try to create another ring, then that's where we get into craziness. So for me, I'm like, if you truly believe that your practice has that energy, I have no issues. But if it doesn't, then I would reevaluate it.
Right. And so we kind of jumped into everything, which is what I like to do. But just to recontextualize, can you explain what is the tradition practice that you follow?
Yeah.
And what would even be the term that I would call you, essentially?
So India, many hundreds and hundreds of years ago, was called Bharat. But when a lot of the surrounding countries came into India, the surrounding countries would call it the Indus Valley. Okay, so it's not called Bharat, but Indus Valley. So then they started to call the people of that Indus Valley Hindus. And the people that came into India, they were following Abrahamic traditions. So Abrahamic traditions are what we refer to as salvation theology, meaning that you follow one way, one teacher, one practice. There's an exclusivity of truth. And if you believe it, you will be saved. You will have salvation. If you don't, you'll go to eternal hell. Right? So that's salvation theology. So when the people that believed in salvation theology came to India, they're like, well, you also need to believe that. So you believe in this God, you believe in this God, you believe in this God, and we're just going to call you all Hindus. Right? And we're going to say you're a bunch of pagans because you believe in different gods, and I want all of you to fight between each other. Right? And then that became Hinduism. So that's why I don't like using the word Hinduism, because it has a very dogmatic feeling. So what we refer to it as Sanatana Dharma, which translates the path towards the eternal truth. Another term is called the Vedic tradition, because it is said the framework of this way of life is called the Vedas. The Vedas are a set of teachings that were heard by enlightened beings, and they were compiled and taught. But the Vedas, we have to look at like science or math. Does science have a date that it was created? Does math have a date that it was created? No. Mm-mm. It's always there, right? Does it have one specific founder? No. Mm-mm. So the Vedas is like science or math. We don't know when it came, but it's been an addition of great beings, always adding to it, right? So this Vedas is constantly evolving, constantly expanding, and there are enlightened beings that come and they reach into the Vedas and they take a teaching and they give it to us that we can look at, study, learn, and realize our true nature. Right? So that's why sometimes we call it the Vedic tradition, based on the Vedas. Another example is the Vedas. This can be like a waterfall, a huge waterfall. Okay. Now imagine if you're really thirsty. Now you go and you put your mouth underneath the waterfall and you try to consume everything. What's going to happen? You're going to drown. You're not even going to fulfill your thirst. Yeah. That's like trying to understand the Vedas. Even if you spent 100 lifetimes, you won't be able to get it. Right? It's not like salvation theology where it's like a neatly packed book. Here you go. Read it. You're going to go to heaven. Right? It's not like that. Right. So for us, what we say, take a cup, put it under the waterfall, and whatever fills your cup, is that enough to quench your thirst? Yes. So drink that. You don't need to understand the whole Vedas. The Vedas is massive. So many commentators, so many teachings, so many iterations. Just take a cup. Take which feels right for you. Drink it. Immerse yourself in that, and that will quench your thirst of ignorance. Yeah. So that's how I would speak about our tradition. I would say we follow the Vedic tradition or the path of Sanatana Dharma. And within that, the cup that we teach is called bhakti or devotion. It's creating this devotional relationship with the divine. And through that, we realize our true nature and the goal of life, which is to love.
Beautiful. So for my brain to simplify, is it a Vedic monk?
So
or a Swami? Yeah.
Yes, in the Vedic tradition, there's two paths. There's the path of the householder called the grihastha. And then there's the path of the sannyasi, which is a path of externally giving up everything and going more into this idea of I don't own anything. And I just live a life where I travel and I teach, and that's my way. Right? Both ways will lead you to the truth. Right? There's lessons to be learned in both. There's a lesson to be learned in having a child, of deep unconditional love that I will never know as a sannyasi. Right? But then there's also lessons that I learned that will be harder for you to understand. So everything has a good and a bad to it. It's just about which one you resonate with. And one is definitely not better than the other. I met many, many sannyasis who are completely in the mind attached to things. And I've met many, many householders that are completely detached, doing their duty and dharma in the world. So you got to choose your way. So sannyasi is gender neutral. It's not like man and women. You're just a sannyasi. You externally give up the world and you live in an ashram, you travel and you teach. Okay? So when you become a sannyasi, there's something called like a novice monk or nun. And this is like a brahmachari, right? So this is where you learn. And after many, many, many years, then there's different initiations, and eventually you gain the initiation of a swami. A swami is an initiation given by an enlightened being that perceives that you've reached a certain level of consciousness. So swami means master of the self. And we wear orange because orange represents fire. And fire represents the burning of all attachment to material desire. And so that's the title, and that's why I wear orange, and that's why I go by Swami. It's not like just a name that I've taken on by myself.
Right.
But at the same time, we have to be important. It's important that many people take the title, they wear the orange, but they haven't reached that state. Right? So don't just think because somebody has that title, is wearing orange, internally they've reached that state. So that finding that discernment is important.
And how many years did you have to study or prepare until you were given the title of Swami?
13 years.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was in different ashrams?
No, one ashram with my guru, who's an enlightened master. His name is Paramahamsa Swami Chidananda. And then when you become enlightened, though, then you're not bound by anything. Let's qualify what an enlightened being is. So what would be an enlightened being for you?
Someone who's reached a state of
expressing pure unconditional love.
Say it again.
Expressing pure unconditional love.
Yes, correct.
Unfiltered by any of this material energy, right? Mm-hmm. So would you say that all of their actions, like an enlightened being, would you say all of their actions are coming from love?
Yes.
And so when an action comes from love, what is it doing to its surroundings?
Lifting them up.
Lifting them up.
Mm-hmm.
So then would an enlightened being ever do something that would not lift others up?
No.
So we can say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we can make that like our bearings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I say that I'm an enlightened being and I do something that brings somebody down, then therefore I'm not. So then how do I know, like for example, I might do something that might appear crazy to you, but in reality, that's actually helping you to break free of certain limitations and helping you to grow. Mm-hmm. So how do you discern that?
Right, because that can be used against
sure.
people who are trying
I can gaslight you.
Right.
So how do you discern that then? Like how can we get to a point where you can have that discernment where like I will have to challenge you.
Right.
Like there's no other way because you reached a barrier. I have to break that barrier. I have to break something in you so you can grow in love. Mm-hmm. But that can be super challenging and hard for you to let go of. So then how do you have the discernment to be like, you know what? You're fake. You're doing this in a bad way. I'm leaving. Or, you know what? I trust, even though I can't understand in my mind right now, I trust that it is actually helping me. So I will continue to move forward. How would you do that?
It must be a practice of your intuition, your internal compass.
Exactly. So you cannot identify an enlightened being through the intellect. You cannot read about it on Google. You cannot listen to another person. None of these things are going to help you to identify and follow an enlightened being. It has to be from the heart at all times. That being said, my guru would always say, walking this path, you have to be a gambler. You can't be a business person. Because a business person is, I do something, I get something in return. There's an expectation. There's a deal. A gambler is, you know what, I'm going with my heart, my feeling, but I don't really know the outcome, but I'm putting my chips in. Right? So around an enlightened being, you have to constantly be a gambler. You're not guaranteed of the outcome. And also, if you do it from the heart, even if you choose wrong, right? Even if the gambler loses all of his chips, what's he going to do? He's going to go try and get some more and put it all in again, right? So sometimes even if you get burned, you got to keep showing up. You got to keep putting the chips in, and eventually it will hit. That's how it is walking the path. If you really want to go deep, if you really want to go deep, If you just want to play on the outskirts, then then we don't need to have these deeper conversations. But with a true master, a teacher, it's a constant challenge to the ego, and a constant reflection and letting go. And you're right, sometimes like the mind might trick you and it might pick the wrong person the wrong way, you might get burned. But I'm a believer, if you really sincerely do it with your heart, it's actually never going to be bad. Like that will happen, but then from that you will have your experiences, your learnings, and then there'll be another opportunity to grow in love. You just got to keep going and going and going. It's not for most people.
Well, it's also like the context that I'm coming from is like the really bad religions and stuff where they're like abusing people and stuff like that.
But this like right? Like you feel like this is not the way.
Right.
But you can't throw the baby out.
I guess people get brainwashed though because they stay in it kind of thing.
Well, sure, it's fear and all of these things.
Right.
But this is like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. That does not negate every great saint in that tradition. Right? Like that would be foolish to be like, that happened to me. Because the thing is, the darkness of the human heart is not monopolized by any one tradition. Meaning that regardless if you follow that tradition or not, there are going to be humans that are just going to not be good people. Right? And if you have 1 billion people following a tradition, even though the tradition might be good, there might be a few that just, there's a darkness of the heart, regardless if they identify with it or not. So we can't take that and then say all of it is gone. Right? It wouldn't make any sense. So of course there's going to be bad people that follow these traditions, because by nature, some of us are just so in the darkness that even if we are following a practice, it's not going to change us. And this is how it is sometimes.
Right. My mind just went to maybe one strategy is, let's say you grew up in a religion or you want to find some religion.
Yeah.
A first step might be to calm everything down or get the mind out of the way.
Yeah.
Have some sort of a practice that helps you get clear on your internal compass and those feelings inside of you, so that when you're choosing a path and when you are speaking with other spiritual teachers, you can read it that way versus, wow, I went to this cool new mass in LA or whatever, and there's this huge band and this one guy speaking. It was
cool, bro, and like the vibe was great.
And then you're all in on this thing, on this guy who has bad intentions.
That's it. So I'll give you a very simple technique that we use to discern truth.
Okay, great. Okay?
This is called pramana. Pramana is how do we discern truth? And in pramana, there's 3 techniques that we use. Okay, so the first is called pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means how does it make you feel? So when you are, let's just take, for example, I'm trying to find a teacher. Okay, so I go to the teacher, I sit, I have an experience, I learn. How does that make you feel internally? Does it give you more peace? Does it give you more joy? Or does it make you more anxious, afraid, or fearful? Okay, so if it gives you more peace and joy, then you could cross that off and say, okay, there's a feeling that is positive, and that can give me more faith that this could be the teacher for me. Okay, so that's pratyaksha. How does something make me feel when I'm discerning truth? Now, what's the downside of that?
I don't know yet.
Your feelings can trick you.
Yes.
Right? You can go into delusion and say, this guy's making me feel great, but it can just be an ego thing.
Right?
So that's why we need to go to the next one. The next one is called anumana. And anumana means reference. So if I see smoke, what can I refer?
Something's burning.
Yeah, there's a fire. Right? Why? Because all the other times I've seen smoke in my life, there's been fire. Do I need to see the fire to know there is a fire? The smoke is enough to give me a reference and understand there should be a fire somewhere. So this enlightened being, I don't need to know they're enlightened per se. If I can look around the community and see people are being good human beings. I don't need to fully understand the teacher if everybody in the community, or most people, are sharing love. Right? So I look and like, wow, their eyes are shining. They're smiling. They're peaceful. Right? So even though I might not have that direct experience, even though I might not know that enlightened being yet, just that reference and knowing that if somebody is smiling and peaceful, that means usually they're doing something good, because that's how I referenced all the things in my life, then that could be the next step. Right? So you use reference. How is everybody else feeling and experiencing?
But it's got to be coming from a place of true. You see the truth within their eyes, and because there's
Sure.
people and religions. Hi, welcome.
Sure,
You know what I mean?
sure. No, you have to feel it, right?
Right.
Like you have to know, like, okay, if that's weird.
Yes.
That'd be like, that's creepy.
Right.
That's not like,
Yeah.
if I'm smiling, that doesn't mean I'm genuinely smiling.
Right.
You have to feel it in the eyes,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
But you have to use that. You have to use that discernment. Have you been around happy people before?
Yeah.
Right? So that's your smoke.
Right.
So if I've seen that smoke before, I know there's a fire. So if I've seen that happiness in somebody before, and I see that same happiness in a large group of people that are all following one particular path, then I could be like, okay, maybe there's something there for me. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is called anumana, or reference. Okay. Now the downside to that is that everybody can feel like that, and it might just be like a group think, or like, who knows, right?
Right.
So there's always a downside to what I'm telling you. Right? So that's why you have to use all three together to make a decision.
Right.
So how is it making me feel? Am I feeling more peaceful, joyful? Okay, check. How are the people around this path? Okay, are they experiencing joy that I've seen in others in my life when they're truly happy, and I see it in all of these people? Okay, there must be something there. Okay. Maybe there's one or two bad apples like we spoke about. For the most part, it seems like everybody is really changing and transforming, right? And living a life that you respect and hope that you want to live as well. And then the third is Shabda. So Shabda is reading a certain scripture or speaking to a certain person that you trust and getting their feedback. Okay, so it's like, okay, there's this enlightened being. I feel good. Everybody's acting in a way that I can connect to. Okay, now let me go to a scripture that I resonate with.
Right.
So let me go to the Bhagavad Gita. Let me go to the Bible, right? Let me go to some teaching that I like. Let me read it. And let me see here what the teaching says about the qualities that an enlightened being should possess. Right? So I read the scriptures, I take my time. And I say, oh yeah, Krishna says that an enlightened being would behave and act in a certain way. This is how they would share their teaching. Okay, all of this is actually true to this particular person. So if the scripture is saying that, okay, there's some trust in that. Or I go and be like, hey Swami, I really trust you. I'm thinking about following this path. What do you think? Can I get your feedback? And I say, you know what? Actually, this person seems good. Like you should go for it. Okay, there's another indicator, right? So that's Shabda, referring to scripture or an other teacher or somebody you trust for feedback. So whenever you are discerning truth, we follow those three. How does it make me feel? What is the reference? And what are the scriptures saying? And if all three align, then we can feel good about taking that decision. It's not 100%, obviously, because there's always limitations to it. Right? Because unless you're fully, purely in unconditional love, you'll never actually know. Right? Only when you're in that unconditional love can you recognize unconditional love truly. But till you get to that state, you can use these three things to take any decision in life. And they're pretty good anchors for taking a decision that will help you to move towards whatever you want to achieve in this world, spiritual or material.
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
It could be a relationship. It could be the food you want to eat.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
It's called pramana, a system of discerning truth. And it's pratyaksha, the feeling, anumana, reference, and shabda, scriptural quotes.
Cool. Okay, thank you for that. Last quick thing. is, we explained the orange, but what is the markings that you put on your
So
forehead?
the marking is the specific path that we follow. So this is going to be like the glass of water that we put. So I refer to bhakti, or the path of devotion. That's the path that we follow. So when we put this marking, it's called a tilak. It's a reminder of that path. The two lines represent feet. So the feet of the divine or feet of humanity, they're one and the same. So it's always a reminder that to be of service. Because across cultures, feet are associated with service. Right? Because service must be done with humility. Feet represent humility. And so this, when I put this on, it's always remember to be of service. Down here, this is called the holy basil leaf. So we see that in different traditions. For us, we call it tulsi. In Christianity, they'll call it basil. So that leaf is associated with love, with devotion. And so when I put this, it's a reminder, I can't serve unless I really feel the love. Without love, how can I serve? Right? So what helps me to love? What helps me to awaken to love? It's the practices that I do. Who's given me these practices? My teacher. So the red dot in the middle represents the teacher. So when I put it, it's a reminder the teacher has awakened that love inside of me in order to serve. And then the red line that runs this way, this represents spiritual ignorance. And so the more and more we serve, the more and more the spiritual ignorance is cut. It's cut like with the sword of the knowledge, and the truth is revealed. And that spiritual ignorance is often associated with Maya in Sanskrit, and Maya is often associated with the Divine Mother. So it's a feminine energy that is said to veil us, but also to remove the veil. So that Divine Mother, she covers us, but she's also the one that removes it so we can begin the journey.
Peekaboo.
Yeah, so without the Divine Mother's grace, we'll never even take one step towards the path. And so with the grace of the Divine Mother, the red, she cuts the veil of ignorance, and then we're able to see the truth as is. So when I wear it, it's a reminder of that tradition and practice that I follow.
Beautiful. There's a section in there too. You said service without true love and a wanting to do that. It's like when you do try and serve, but you actually don't want to do it. It's almost worse.
Exactly.
So getting that place within you to where you can give.
But sometimes you have to fake it till you make it.
Is the idea. Okay, fair.
But that's the goal.
Right.
To serve with love. In that space, you have no expectations, perfect acceptance, and joy. Nobody has to ask you. Nobody has to put a gun to you. You love doing it. If I love you and you're sick, I love to cook food for you and to make you feel better. You're not paying me. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's the important. Service has to be done with love if we really want to experience who we are.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Is there a mantra to close this out?
Yes. Om Shanti 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swami.
Thank you.